The brutal fact is, most change initiatives fail. Adam Kahane is the man who helped South Africa move beyond apartheid. He suggested that, to sustain change in truly demanding circumstances, we need to build real depth of understanding and commitment. Hoping to achieve this, organizations craft aspirational mission statements and communication strategies, believing that if they can only be clear about what needs to be done and inspire their people to do it, they will somehow fall into line. However, this seemingly rational approach is deeply flawed, for human systems are themselves seldom rational. Our behavior is highly influenced by a complex interplay of often unconscious emotions. We consciously justify our behavior as rational, but below the surface, we're continually shaped by the swirling currents of our hopes and fears, assumptions and biases. While we may be blissfully unaware of the role they play, when we're faced with organizational change, no matter how clear and compelling the mission statement, it is these unconscious instincts that drive us to defend the status quo and reject those that threaten our beliefs. These powerful feelings emerge from deep within the most primitive part of our brain, in a structure called the amygdala. The amygdala is responsible for our immediate emotional responses to our surroundings. This is an evolutionary strategy to ensure our survival. We're programmed to respond positively to things that will keep us safe, and negatively to things that could be a threat. A rational response is even less likely when organizational change challenges us to leave behind the safety of our tried and tested habits and enter new and unfamiliar territory. The psychoanalyst Melanie Klein described this as a paranoid schizoid state of mind. In this state, we feel no connection with the new and the unfamiliar, instead interpreting it and the people associated with it as a threat. We become defensive and resistant, spending more energy opposing the change than in finding ways to make it work for us. Managers and their teams, unions, and the organization and different departments are then drawn into a vicious circle of resistance, where each side sees the other as the cause of their problems. Even when rational thinking suggests possible ways to overcome the challenges facing us, the unconscious, powered by the amygdala, drives us down an emotional path. A shocking example of how our emotional responses overpower our rational mind can be seen in a recent study of patients with coronary heart disease. It found that when told by their doctors to change their lifestyle or die, only 1 in 7 were able to adapt successfully. They all understood the rationale for change. They heard the compelling call to action, and they all wanted to live, but this was overridden by the habits of a lifetime. For the vast majority, the desire to stay the same at any cost was overwhelming. Even in life or death situations, sustainable change is elusive. So it is perhaps no surprise that a carefully crafted mission statement does little to mobilize change within organizations. To create organizational change that will stick, we need to start with the unconscious, working with our emotions and reducing the level of threat so that we can approach the future more rationally. Clinical psychology suggests 3 critical factors to support engagement. Firstly, from birth, we need to feel understood and connected with others, a feeling often referred to as attunement. Secondly, we need to create a predictable model or story that allows us to make sense of our world and the challenges we face. This is known as narrative competence. Thirdly, we need to have a sense of personal power or self-agency. We need to believe that we matter and can influence our world. When these factors are present, we feel what is termed containment, where we're safe enough to face new challenges and uncertainties. This need for containment begins at birth and remains with us throughout our lives. These basic human needs have huge implications for how we think about change and change leadership. Just as a baby needs to feel safe before it can venture from its mother to explore and learn from its surroundings, people need to feel safe within an organization before they're able to embrace new ways of working. It's not enough for leaders to simply understand us. We must feel understood, and that understanding must be demonstrated through clear attention, recognition, and response to the things that concern us. We look to our leaders to help make sense of our changing world by speaking directly to our fears, hopes, and dreams. They must speak our language. They must tell a story that resonates. They then must demonstrate that our opinions matter and help build the capability and confidence needed to have some control over our lives. And if we do not feel understood, if our manager tries to inspire us with a vision that does not reflect our daily reality, and if we're reminded every day that change is done to us, not with us, we will not be engaged. We'll resist or ignore all efforts to change, and the program will fail. The simplest way to begin this process is through conversation. As humans, we're born to converse. From birth, we know how to interact with others, create reactions in others, and arouse feelings in ourselves. In the to and fro communications between mother and baby, we make sense of the world and build our identities, and the habit of conversation never leaves us. These conversations are never one-sided. They involve a reciprocal turn-taking, where everyone participates, and always in a human voice. Questions are asked, answers are given, and new directions taken. We understand each other's problems and we create shared meaning. Disagreements arise, only to prompt efforts to repair relationships and create new understandings and connections. Whether explaining or complaining, joking or serious, the human voice is unmistakably genuine. It can't be faked. It's open and honest, often funny, sometimes shocking, and always unpredictable. Through conversation, we build human connection. We feel safe in the knowledge that we're understood and have a shared understanding of our world. We know we can influence the conversation, and we know we matter. It feels good, and we want it to continue. It's a real contrast with the one-sided, humorless monotone of the corporate mission statement. For organizations, these conversations become vibrant sources of shared meaning, building belonging and ownership, an approach Gary Hamel has termed activist-out change. We're not being sold an idea, we're being invited to participate in its creation. As we explore the paradoxes and complexity of organizational change through these conversations, we build organizations that are flexible, adaptive, sustainable, and above all, human.